Do you believe that the streets of Chicago would be safer if there were more uniformed police officers on the streets of Chicago?
I believe the city of Chicago and cities across America would be safer if we actually had, affordable housing. I'm saying we've invested in detectives.
Mr. Mayor, are you hearing what I'm saying? I'm agreeing with you that all of these other social programs are extraordinarily important. I just need a yes or a no, and then this will be the last time I ask.
Look,
okay,
I'm not saying that
that's not the question I asked. My question is, and I just need a yes or a no.
Grace and peace, everybody. Let's get at it. Let's get at it. Okay, Brandon Johnson, Chicago. What's going on up there? Let's find out. Let's do it.
And what programs would you want funded? What specifically do you consider to be violence prevention programs?
$800 million be used for?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have been working with community violence intervention workers, or CVI. These are community-led organizations that are spending time on the ground in the neighborhoods, working to squash conflict, to prevent retaliation from occurring. Look, I live on the west side of Chicago. It's the Austin neighborhood, one of the most dynamic communities in the entire city, but it has been mired in disinvestment. I'm likely the first mayor in the history of Chicago to wake up in one of the most difficult, challenging communities. And that's why not only are we investing in CVI, or our community violence intervention workers, we're also investing in youth employment. This summer alone, we hired 31,119 young people. And in the neighborhoods where youth employment was the highest, we saw the most significant decline in violence. He also can help support mental and behavioral health care services. I've reopened the 3 mental health clinics. We've expanded mental health crises workers all over the city so that when mental health crises occurs, a police officer doesn't have to show up to that scene. But we have a trained professional to be able to address these crises. The other thing that he can help us with is the federal government can help us with. I've revamped the entire detectives bureau within the city of Chicago, and now we have a clearance rate almost 77%. One of the deterrents of crime is to actually solve it, to bring closure, to bring justice. These are just a few examples that I know mayors across the country are calling for. This president and the federal government has literally declared war on poor people. I remember a time when presidents declared war on poverty. The federal government has a moral responsibility to do unto the least of these. And that's what we're doing in the city of Chicago.
Okay, that's some really cute rhetoric. You're going to have to show me he's declared war on poor people. That doesn't even make sense. But, okay, so he's laid out his ideas, and I want you to listen further because there's going to be some more direct questions asked. And notice how he does not answer those questions, but goes back to these major points that he's brought up already. Let's go.
Let me ask you, Mr. Mayor, those all sound like great programs. I'm curious, would you also like to get federal funding to help put 5,000 more cops on the street in Chicago? Would that help drive down crime?
Well, look, policing by itself is not the full strategy.
No, I understand that. You've talked about the other things you want, and I said those are good and important programs, but I'm asking also, would 5,000 more police officers on the street in Chicago be helpful to go along with all of those social programs that a lot of cities are engaging in and having success with?
Well, look, here's the best way I can put it, Joe, is that in the 90s when I was in high school, we had 3,000 more police officers and we had 900 people being murdered every single year in Chicago. It's just not policing alone. Of course, we want more detectives.
I know it's not policing alone, but I know it's not policing alone. You've told me everything else you want. I'm curious, and this does come down to an ideological difference between people. Do you believe that the streets of Chicago would be safer if there were more uniformed police officers on the streets of Chicago?
I love the fact that Joe Scarborough is not letting Brandon off the hook. He's like, look, I'm asking you this question specifically. Go back to this question, which I think is key. Brandon is kind of missing the fact that if your programs are working, then murder rates should be going down. So this will be yet another tool in the tool belt to help drive the murder rates and crime rates down even further. To reference when you were in high school is a moot point, because hopefully you'll never go back to that, Brandon, because of the programs that you already put in play. So I agree with Joe. Shout out to Joe.
I believe the city of Chicago and cities across America would be safer if we actually had, affordable housing. Look,
okay,
I'm not saying that
that's not the question I asked. My question is, and I just need a yes or a no, do you believe the streets of Chicago would be safer if you got all of those other extraordinary programs put back into place, which do have a history of being successful, if that's complemented by having 5,000 more cops on the streets of Chicago?
I don't believe that we should narrow it down to just police officers, Joe, is what I'm saying. That is an antiquated approach. I'm saying we've invested in detectives.
Mr. Mayor, are you hearing what I'm saying? I'm agreeing with you that all of these other social programs are extraordinarily important. I just need a yes or a no, and then this will be the last time I ask. If you get all of those other social programs that 800 million that New York City does, Los Angeles, other people do with great success, would an additional 5,000 cops on the streets in Chicago help complement those programs to make Chicago safer?
Look, we are working hard to make sure that our police department is fully supported. I don't believe that just simply putting out an arbitrary number around police officers is the answer. What I'm saying is policing and affordable housing. It's policing and mental and behavioral health.
And that's what Joe Scarborough is saying. But Brandon wants to make this a social issue rather than a police issue when he's already got his social programs. And Joe just wants to say, hey, if they add some more police, would that help as well? And Brandon knows that. He knows what he's doing.
Care services is policing and youth employment. It's a full package. Of course, we want to make sure that our police department is fully supported. That's why I've invested in our Detectives Bureau, because what we have seen in the city of Chicago, when we solve crime, it acts and serves as a deterrent. It's policing and all of the other efforts that we're doing. Here's the last thing that I'll say to that. The federal government could work stronger to coordinate with my police department to get guns off the streets of Chicago. We've seen these coordination efforts work. Just a couple of weeks ago, the ATF working with my police department, we removed over 150 guns off the streets of Chicago that were trafficked in through Mississippi and Indiana. No one is saying that police officers don't play an incredible role in driving safety. They play an absolute pivotal role in that. But we have asked law enforcement to do too much. Police officers are being asked to be social workers, counselors. What I'm simply saying is, if we're going to build safe and affordable cities across America, the one thing that safe communities all have in common, they invest in people. We have a poverty issue in the city of Chicago and cities across America. Police officers alone will not put food on the table. Police officers alone will not guarantee a high quality education.
Either Brandon Johnson is just completely oblivious or he's disingenuous. I don't know. Maybe there's another option as well. Let me know down in the comments below. If your city is crime ridden, businesses are not going to be there. People are going to be spending more money to keep themselves safe. People might not be able to work because they're not safe. He's got to know this. This cannot be revelation knowledge. We're not saying that you police everything, but Brandon, you have all these other services that you've been working on. And I dare question that some of these are not even the duties of the government, but we're not going to even have to do that. All the man wants to know is, if police officers are there, would it deter people from doing crimes? That's it. This should not be as long of an answer as Brandon has turned it into.
Police officers alone won't drive down unemployment. We need all of it. The President of the United States of America and the federal government could restore Medicaid. They could restore SNAP. They could stop defunding our public education system. Here's the most important point here. Justice Brandeis, over 100 years ago, the first Jewish American to sit on the Supreme Court, he said that we could either have a democracy or wealth in the hands of the concentrated few. He said, but we can't cannot have both. We are fighting for our democracy and our humanity right now. This president's nescience of the Constitution will leave irrevocable harm on posterity. That's why, as mayor of the city of Chicago, we are standing up to tyranny, and American cities across this country are doing the same.
Idiot Mayor Brandon Johnson says we need more affordable housing. He has like a 7% approval rating in Chicago. Chicago turned more red because of him and Tubby, their governor. But he said he was on, I believe, MSNBC. They were interviewing him. They were trying to ask him, do he feel like more police equals safer streets? And this is a question that Democrats. It's like, do you believe in women? Do you believe, what is a woman? The question was being asked and they couldn't answer it. This is another one of those idiotic questions. Of course, whether you like it or not, Trump's, what he's doing and watching is proof that when you have more police, because it makes people scared to commit crime. If you know there are police everywhere, you're not going to commit crime. When I went to the mall with a friend a while back and they were a thief, they were scared to steal because there was so much police around. If you put police around, people are going to be scared to commit crime. It's very simple. It's like 1 + 1. Well, he said it doesn't. He said, we just need more affordable housing and government assistance programs. This is why Democrat cities are in ruin. This is why they're burning down. This is why they're a wreck. Because of this insane ideology being pushed by the Democratic Party. And I don't know how anybody who has common sense can vote for it.
Crime and not the skin color should be the primary focus here. Violence is about choice and character, not the race. Message, play the clip.
As the mayor of this city, I can tell you that Chicagoans are not calling for a military occupation. They are calling for the same thing that we've been calling for some time. And that's investment. What safe cities across America all have in common, they invest in people. And that's what we're doing in Chicago. We need the federal resources to make sure that we're building more affordable housing, expanding mental and behavioral health care, education, all of these things that could reduce crime and provide real community safety. Instead of spending hundreds of millions of dollars for a publicity stunt to invoke chaos and terror, the federal government should spend that money on proven solutions to crime and violence reduction. We cannot incarcerate our way out of violence. We've already tried that. And we've ended up with the largest prison population in the world without solving the problems of crime and violence. The addiction on jails and incarceration in this country, we have moved past that. It is racist, it is immoral, it is unholy, and it is not the way to drive violence down.
Lock up criminals now. Jesus Christ, I can't take
we cannot return to the same failed strategies that got us here in the first place. Under the previous presidential administration, we requested more federal resources to address gun violence in our city. We continue to make that same call. We have made significant progress on our own, but there is so much more that we can do if we had real support from the federal government.
One thing that Mayor Brandon Johnson's woke ass admitted was that, hold on, in the words of white liberals, blacks are the ones committing all the violent crimes. At some point, we got to admit the facts. That some people just belong in prison, that there is no amount of money going to make a violent criminal a better person.
As I learned, the Chicago mob didn't want the police looking into the businesses either, but violence does seem to climb when the mob is in charge. Let's go. Remember when Beetlejuice ran Chicago into the ground? Imagine being against gaining more control of crime. That's what we're dealing with here. That's craziness. I mean, that's it right there. Why isn't the government sending troops into red states? You know why? Because we have guns that protect us. That's why. Low crime. Because we don't have cashless bail and we aren't sanctuary cities. No lie detected. No lie detected. If the 50 million people here on visas left, there would be tons of empty homes. That's probably more true than false. Yeah, sure. Will there be empty homes? Government assistance programs and affordable housing programs are just ways that the Democrat line their own pockets. That's what they're pushing constantly. I agree. Excellent point. This is fantastic. I want to know what you think about it. Do you agree with Brandon? Do you agree with the people? Are you in Chicago? Are you in New York? Are you in DC? And do you think that we should bring the National Guard to your city? Let me know what you think. Do you think that we should not have the National Guard in your city? Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Thank you so much. Until next time, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Jay Witt Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please do me a favor and hit me up with that 3-piece special. Like the video, subscribe, and of course, share it with somebody who would also enjoy this type of content. And make sure you leave a comment because I do pin the best comments to the top. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And until next time, everybody, grace and peace.